Hey guys, Pete Peppers here. This video will contain spoilers. HBO released some new information today that confirms a popular fan theory that's been around for years. So if you don't want to know in the show who Jon Snow's parents are, you want to stop watching right now. Alright, so from the very first season of the HBO show Game of Thrones, it's been a mystery as to who Jon Snow's parents are. He's a Snow, which means he's a bastard, and everything we know about Ned, his father, seems to not be in line with him going off to war and fathering a bastard. So there's been mystery. When Jon first goes to the wall in this scene here, whenever he talks to his father says next time they meet, he'll tell him about his mother. And of course, Ned dies at the end of season one, and they never see each other again. So in the season six finale, it's finally been confirmed, and we see Jon Snow's birth and all the different things that are going on at the Tower of Joy. But if you weren't following the theories or you haven't really looked into it too deeply, you might not really understand what this all means. And to make things a little bit clearer, HBO released this infographic today that shows all the different connections between the characters. There's a lot of different information on this. I don't know what you would call, I guess, this graph. And what's really important as far as this video is concerned is just the actual parentage and connections between a few of the different characters. So if we just take away all the other people and we look at Jon, his parents, and his connection to Ned, we can see that Jon was born between Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen. Lyanna is Ned's younger sister, and Daenerys is Rhaegar's younger sister. So whenever you think about the connection between Jon and Daenerys, Daenerys would actually be his aunt. So there is another line here that you can see that's the purple dashed line, and it says abducted. And we'll get into that later. But the other thing that I wanted to mention here is that Jon is then, in a sense, the blood of fire and ice, since the Starks are from the north and the Targaryens are associated with dragons and fire. So one more thing that's worth looking at before we get into the history of who his parents are is that there is no red line that connects Lyanna and Rhaegar. The red line would show like it goes from Lyanna to Robert because she was betrothed to Robert. They were never wed, but it also indicates, at least as far as the show is concerned, that Lyanna and Rhaegar were not married either. That would indicate that Jon is still a bastard, except for now he's a Targaryen bastard instead of a Stark bastard. Prince Rhaegar Targaryen was the eldest son of the Mad King Aerys II Targaryen. Being the eldest son, he was the crown prince of Dragonstone, and he was also the prince that was supposed to succeed his father on the Iron Throne. We have several different descriptions of Rhaegar in the books, and he's said to be tall, good looking, dark indigo eyes, which is a common Targaryen trait, with long silver hair. I won't go too deeply into his history for this video, but we get a lot of different things when Daenerys asks Sir Barristan Selmy about her brother, her eldest brother, and we find out that he's a good knight, but he's also a really intelligent person and a talented musician as well. We also know that he was somewhat bookish and became somewhat obsessed with prophecy at one point, and he was really interested in the idea of the prince that was promised. So basically, he was looking for this combination of a child born of fire and ice. He was married to Elia Martell, Princess of Dorne. She gave him two children, but after the second was unable to have any more. So this inability to have more children may have preceded the events that went on at the Great Tourney at Harrenhal. Prince Rhaegar won the tourney, and when it came time to crown the Queen of Love and Beauty, he did not choose his own wife. Instead, he picked Lyanna Stark. Lyanna was betrothed to Robert Baratheon, so this basically set in action the events that led to Robert's rebellion, which took the Targaryens off of the Iron Throne. During the Battle of the Trident, Robert Baratheon slain Rhaegar with his warhammer in single combat, which basically was the decisive military battle in the rebellion. So, since history is written by the victors, the story has always been that Rhaegar had stolen Lyanna, taken her away, and raped her. Now, we hear that story again and again from different characters throughout the books and the TV series, but there was a lot of evidence that made it seem like that wasn't probably the case. Lyanna seemed to be a willing participant, and they seemed to run away together to have a child rather than this abduction story that everyone sort of perpetuated on the Baratheon side. So they ran away to the south to the Tower of Joy in Dorne and spent several months together there until Rhaegar left to join the battle of the Trident. So he left the pregnant Lyanna behind with 3 of his top Kingsguard to protect her and the royal child. And basically she's there until Ned and his friends ride south to rescue her. And that's the Tower of Joy scene that we see in the TV show. So after Ned arrives at the Tower of Joy and slays Sir Arthur Dayne with the help of Howland Reed, he goes inside to find Lyanna is bleeding after giving birth.
If Robert finds out you kill him, you know he will. You have to protect him. Promise me, Ned. Promise me. Promise me, Ned.
So this is a big deal for Ned, and it really defines a lot of who he is throughout the story. Obviously, he had just married Catelyn whenever he went to fight in the war, and before he left, he got her with child, which was Robb, and so he barely knew her in a way. I mean, she was actually betrothed to his brother Brandon. So the way things worked out, he left, and then he came back with Jon Snow, and he couldn't really explain to her because there was too much risk, and he made this promise. So it basically just was a secret that he had to keep and couldn't tell anyone. So we've already mentioned a lot about Lyanna Stark and the fact that she was Ned's younger sister, that she was betrothed to Robert, and that she basically was the catalyst for Robert starting his rebellion. We also know that she was beautiful. It said that she was considered beautiful by all, and we also know that because Rhaegar crowned her the Queen of Love and Beauty. Also, we know that she was a skilled rider. It said that she rode a horse like a Northman, and that Ned actually compares her in appearance and sort of her tomboyishness to Arya. So, out of all the Stark children, Arya seems to have the closest comparison. And Ned actually says that Lyanna probably would have carried a sword if their father had approved of it. So that is the story of Jon Snow's parents. There's a bunch of interesting stuff that goes along with this, and if you look at this a little bit closer, there's a lot of kind of neat little things of the way people are connected. One thing that is interesting is that whenever Cersei goes to see Maggie the Frog, in that prophecy, when she asks will she marry the prince, she's actually talking about Prince Rhaegar. Lord Tywin was the hand of the king, and he was hoping to marry off Cersei to Rhaegar. It didn't work out that way, but that's who she grew up basically being in love with. And so we know that Robert, she never really loved Robert, and Robert always had loved Lyanna. So basically, Robert never loved Cersei, and Cersei never loved Robert, and they both loved the two people who got together and are Jon Snow's parents. So that, it's a big mystery that's finally been, at least as far as the TV show is concerned, solved. Jon Snow is a Targaryen, at least by blood. Um, I'm not 100% sure it's going to go that way in the books. I mean, it's pretty likely now. I was always in the camp of, or at least I ended up in the camp of R+L equals D, and the Ashara Dane stuff. But R+L equals J, Rhaegar plus Lyanna equals Jon always made a lot of sense, and um, we'll see what happens in the books. We don't really know. It's not a guarantee that it'll be the same. So I hope you like this video. Please give it a like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be talking to you soon.